Welcome to Daily Life Connection. Thanks for joining me as we continue to explore this amazing story in Luke chapter 15. In verse 12, the younger son goes to the father and asks for his inheritance. We'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. But it's an interesting statement here. It says, and the father divided his property or his assets, or the technical word is livelihood. He divided his livelihood between them, among them, to them. He gave everything to them. He gave all of his assets, all of his property, all of his goods, all of his bank accounts, everything he had, he gave to these two sons. That's grace, isn't it? That's a great definition of grace. God giving us everything, everything. In 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 3, it says that his divine power has given us everything we need for life and for godliness. He's given us everything we need. That's grace. And this is really important for us to notice here. He didn't give it to them because they deserved it. In fact, this younger son, what an affront, what ingratitude of this son to come to his father and say, I want you to just drop dead and give me your inheritance. I want everything that belongs to me, that's going to belong to me. I want it right now. Demanding, insolent son. And the father gives it to him. The father gives it to him. And here's the older brother who doesn't even ask, but he gets it. Oh, that is so good. God, we don't experience God's grace and mercy and love because we ask for it. It's already given to us. We experience it when we ask for it and trust it, but it's already ours. It's already there in our bank account. The older brother had everything deposited in his name, in his account. So did the younger brother. That's grace. He gives everything to those who will misuse it. He knew this younger son. He knew full well that if he gave him all this inheritance, he knew what the younger son would do with it. He knew he'd take off and squander it. In the New Revised Standard Version says in dissolute living, self-indulgent living, self-centered, self-indulgent living. He knew this son, but he gave it to him anyway. That is grace. Grace is scandalous. You see, that's what made these Pharisees and teachers of the law so angry. Jesus, you're giving them your attention. You're giving them your approval. You're giving them your blessing by eating with them and celebrating with them and fellowshipping with them. They don't deserve it. They're misusing the gifts of God. But that's God's grace. Even if we misuse it, he still gives it to us. He lavishes his grace on us. He lavishes his love on us. And that's the grace of God. He gives it everything to those who will misuse it. And he gives everything to those who won't even appreciate it. The elder brother got everything, but we see later on in the story him complaining about, well, you haven't given me, you haven't given me. The father's going, everything I have is yours. Everything I have is yours. It's all been available to you. It's all in your name. You didn't need to ask me. You didn't need to beg me and plead with me. I've already given it all to you. He gives grace to those who will misuse it. He gives grace to those who won't even appreciate it. But he still gives everything. And that's why I like to call this the story of the prodigal God. You see, prodigal means wasteful. This God is willing to waste everything he has, to risk everything he has. Because you see, the word is livelihood. He divided his livelihood between them. He divided what would keep him alive. He gave them what would sustain him. He gave them the very essence of his existence. He gave it all to them. He risked everything for relationship. Oh, there is so much in this story, isn't there? God risked everything in order to have relationship, to keep the relationship open. Even though he knew the younger son would reject that relationship and walk away from it, even though he knew the older son would resent him and be angry with him and pull himself back and isolate himself out in the fields from the Father. But still, he gave them everything. He blessed them with everything in order for the hopes of gaining their relationship. When the younger son returns, he hugs him and embraces him, my son, my son. And the older brother, when he is so angry and so obnoxious, the father still says, my son, everything. He wants relationship. Everything I have is yours, he says. God will do anything and everything to bless us and grace us and love us and show us mercy in the hopes of relationship. He will invest, he did invest, didn't he, through Jesus? Everything that was most precious to him, he invested it in providing us with everything, in the hopes of relationship. That's so good. The hopes of relationship with him. Nothing, he values nothing. Here, there's still more. The Father said, nothing I have is as valuable as relationship with you sons, with you boys. That's what God is saying to you and I. Nothing is as valuable to me as a relationship with you. He came to seek and to save the lost. He came to grace us. He came to love us. He came to give us mercy. He came to include us because he wants relationship with us. Lots to think about today, isn't there? Well, let's go away and think about this and talk to Abba about it and give him thanks and rejoice in his incredible, scandalous, wasteful, prodigal grace that he has given to us. We'll talk again tomorrow. God bless.